Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to go through the process of building the block tower and some of the other objects that you may be seeing in the last tutorial for this room design. So you can see right here, I have the room that I added, and it has the materials on it. And again, I can go in like this dresser right here. There might be some things that I want to add. So if I go to the materials right here, you go to interior, I'll go to objects, and then I'm just going to pick like this kind of wood grain color. So you can see right here, that's how you add the materials. But now the next thing that I'm going to be doing is adding the the shape so that I'm able to like create the stack of blocks and add some of the components. So the first thing I'm going to add is just a block. So you go up here to the top left, you're going to see 3D object, and I'm going to add a cube. Now, this cube, as you can see, is pretty large. Like if I'm looking around here, it's bigger than most of the things that are in the room. So I can leave it like this. Like there's nothing saying that I can't have this big block in here, but just for practicality's sake, I'm gonna scale it down some, just so it's not quite as, like, big on the scene, and then I'm gonna go back here, and I'm just gonna put this, like, close to the floor. Okay, so the next concept that we're really going to work with is what are called prefabs. And so we're going to make a few different things to kind of add to our prefabs so that we can just drag stuff in and then make them like functional within a game, which can save us a lot of time as we build like our own scenes coming up. So in this case, if this is the block that I want to use, I'm going to go ahead and add a material to it. So I'm just going to use this one right here. And then I'm also going to add some components right here. So one of those components, and you can see that like I have this box collider. When you add a shape, it's going to have a collider on it. And one of the things that you have is what's known as a physics material. So if I click here, they give you this one, which is called the ball bouncing material. So if I double click it, what will happen is when it hits something, it's going to bounce off of it. It's going to have certain properties. The other thing that I need to add is what's called a rigid body component. So if I click here and add component on the inspector for the object, I can do, if I just type in this word or I start, it's going to be here. And you can see that it adds it to the object. So what this does now is it makes it so that if it's in the air, like it has gravity and it has mass. And so that's what Unity calls physics, essentially. So what you're going to see is when I hit play, it will now in the game view, it's going to fall. So you'll see this. And I have my camera a little bit off, but you could see it right there that it kind of fell down. So one thing I'm also going to do is if I have this camera here, I'm going to just check to make sure that I can see the entire scene. So a way to do that, you have a camera object on this side, and then you have your camera right here. And now you can kind of see the whole thing. I can also maybe rotate it down some, which might help a little bit. And then if I get the full view of the room, which looks like this. So I'm actually going to edit it a little bit more so I can see the entire room. Okay. And now one more time, I'm going to hit play so that you can see like the object and if it will fall. And there it goes. So you can see that it fell on the ground. And when it hit the ground, it kind of bounced a little bit. Not much, but you could see it. So the next thing is now that I have this cube and it has all of its components, I'm going to go ahead and add it into this prefabs folder. So I'll go here and I'll add it. And you'll see that it turns this sort of blue color. And it does that because that means that it's a prefab. Now, here is the advantage. Once you make the object, I can go in and I can just start adding them to the scene and it will have all of the same properties. So I don't have to keep like remaking them. I can just add them like this. Okay. So I'll just add a few more right here and I'll make it so that it's going to kind of create a big mess when it falls. And the other thing I'm going to do, just so you can also see like what it looks like, is I'm going to add a sphere. So I'm going to go to 3D object. I'm going to add a sphere, kind of the same thing. I'm going to go here. I'm going to scale it down some, like this. And then I'm also going to add a few of those components. So I'm going to add the physics material. So again, I'll add this bouncing element. And then I'm also going to add a rigid body to it. And I think for this, I'm going to add a basic material here. I might just add this sort of red to this sphere. Okay. And like before, I'm going to make this a prefab. So I'm going to take this sphere with all of these components. I'm going to drag it into my prefabs folder. And now when I look at my scene, what I should see is this kind of like roll around, hit stuff, kind of knock it over. And you can change its mass. There it is. And there is my scene. So it's a really cool feature. This is actually something that Unity pioneered in the game design industry, where they had what are called prefabs, which means you can just reset you can use the same object over and over instead of having to make an individual one. All right, so that is how you add the stack of blocks, add components like rigid body and physics material. So I'm excited to see what you make with your own scene.